Hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach. And I am here with yet another unbelievably high demand coach. It is the one and only Katie Richardson, who believes that your business is a powerful vehicle for you to become who God created you to be. As an executive business coach, she's on a mission to help entrepreneurs have fun and live the life that they want. Her first brand, Pooj.com, is a worldwide sensation, reaching 2,000 stores in the US and distribution in 26 different countries. With a sketch and a giant leap of faith, Katie transformed an industry and became a globally recognized designer and entrepreneur while being a committed wife and mother. She has appeared on the Ellen Degeneres Show, the Rachael Ray Show, the Today Show, and on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine, and she's here with us today. Katie, welcome to the show. Your story just came out everywhere as I was doing research for this, and it's a powerful, powerful story, and I'm wondering if you could just spend a moment or two and unpack that for us. How did you get into the world of entrepreneurism, and was it easy at first?
I mean, no, it was not easy, but it was kind of an unexpected journey for me. I love solving problems, and I want to do it in a way where it is highly impactful, right? Not just solve that immediate problem, but can we get down to the systemic level of the problem and solve it at that level? And so in 2008, 2009, I started to build and develop a brand and a company. And it wasn't until 2010 that we actually started to monetize it. And when things took off, Scott, they really took off. And within 12 months, we were in 2,000 stores in the US and distribution in 26 different countries. And I had, 3 young kids at home at the time. And it was unsustainable for me as this business was just taking off like a rocket ship. And I had this moment where it was just like, I cannot keep going in this same direction that I'm going, right? I had read the business books and I was watching other successful people, and it was basically sacrifice everything in your life, focus fully on the business, and then, that will then provide for everything else, right? And it just, no matter what level we got to, it just never let up. And I started to realize that something has to change. And when I meet entrepreneurs, this is kind of the sign that they're ready, is they'll say that. It's just not sustainable. And yet we're caught in this double bind of, I don't want to set the business down and I still want to be involved. It's a vehicle that I'm really passionate about. And yet other things in my life are just, they're going to start falling apart, whether that's the marriage, your health, your spirituality, your relationship with your kids. So when I was in that moment, I went to God and I was, saying, this is not sustainable. I can't keep doing it in this way. And in that moment, he taught me a really powerful lesson, which was I thought that the solution was going to be a business model. And what he showed me was that I needed to create the person who's capable of navigating this multidimensional life. And so from this kind of revelation that I experienced really early on in my business, I felt like was kind of foundational to the ultimate success I was able to achieve. That is where I start with CEOs and entrepreneurs and founders, is we've got to build this business from the inside out.
Yeah, it's so true. There's a couple of things in there that I want to unpack because I hear it all the time. And I think you've just laid out a great kind of roadmap for our conversation here. The first one is the next level, right? How many people come to you and like, we want to get to the next level, right? I want to get to the next level. And it's like, where you ask, what is the next level? They really have no idea what the next level is. They think it's just better than now, right? And what we have a tendency to do, I think, as entrepreneurs is goal-oriented, driving, often A-type personalities, is to actually kind of put our joy on hold until we get to that next level. Do you see that happening?
Oh, yeah, 100%. We're very future-oriented. That's what motivates you. That's what drives you. But if you continue to always only come from external, future-based motivation, you will accomplish and achieve those things. And in some ways, that will be the scariest day of your life, because now what?
Yeah. Absolutely. And you find that, right? There's not a
Yeah.
story that I've seen go the whole way through the story where they haven't come face to face with that question,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's almost Ricky Bobby, like, what do I do with my hands? There's this moment of like, if I'm not my success, who am I? And
Oh, yeah.
so as you're navigating that, again, in such a just short period of time, what role did your faith have in helping you to answer some of those questions?
I mean, honestly, it was everything. I was really getting caught up in business, and it was fun. It was exciting. It was very validating. It felt fulfilling. And at the same time, I was trying to find my way forward, and continually in my life, I need a North Star. And that North Star includes a longer term vision and I'm going to say eternal perspective on my existence. Yeah. But that, as I'm aiming at that, it helps bring truth to the surface. It orients me in a really productive direction. And it helps me get out of the delusion of my own warped perspective, right? We all live in an echo chamber. And if you're only seeing your perspective from your personal distortion, then you're going to be chasing after something that's continually elusive. And so if you can point your vision and have it founded on something that is solid and true, then you'll be able to see past the distortions of your own vision.
Yeah. Yeah, I've found the exact same thing, and done a lot of work actually both on the church side and on the business side, right? And it's one of those places where I think a lot of churches have an advantage in that they have that North Star. Now there's some other challenges that they experience, but it's one of the things I think the business world can really take from both the church world and nonprofits as a whole, that cause-based, that what Simon Sinek calls the infinite game, right? That purpose that's bigger and beyond us. It's so important. You said another thing in your intro, though, that I want to steer us to, which is the solution wasn't another business model. It was basically you. It was a person and who you wanted to build and become. Unpack that for us.
So much of what happens externally, meaning outside of us, is actually very out of our control. We don't maybe notice it or recognize it at first. I work with high-performing individuals, right? CEOs, founders, entrepreneurs, and they've been able to find high levels of success by, in a sense, kind of manipulating their external circumstances. So that has them doing really well in high school or sports and college. Maybe they were even pro or semi-pro of athletes. And a lot of that, yeah, there is an internal game for sure. And it's the tool set, so to speak, that they use is hard work, meaning working harder and more hours than probably most people, and discipline. And those are great virtues, but we can tend to take those to an extreme. And when you take those things to an extreme, they tend to be counterproductive. And so it's so confusing, Scott, because what got you ahead is now suddenly the very thing that's causing you to slide back, but you've always associated that with your success. And so it seems like an essential ingredient. So to remove that it bends your mind in a really wild, crazy way. But what I show people is a totally different operating system. It's the vital operating system. Your previous operating system includes kind of the programming, the thoughts and mindsets, skill sets, tool sets that you were taught by default, honestly, from a really young age. And those did get you ahead to a certain point in your life, but you talked about going to the next level. If you want to go to the next level, you actually have to play the game very differently. It's not logical. It's not linear. And it's engaging parts of your wisdom and intelligence that you have kind of dismissed previously, right? Because they weren't necessarily a part of the essential ingredients to your success previously. And so when people first start working with me, it bends their mind. It pushes their faith and trust in themselves. But it's an exciting journey where they start to really experience this parabolic level of success, right? At first, it feels awkward, weird, strange, unusual. It seems even counterintuitive. But if they stick with it and they stick within the framework that I teach people, you start to experience this really exciting, parabolic growth and success.
Yeah.
But it's so counterintuitive.
Yeah. So one of the things that you've kind of woven in here is this idea of, before and after, right? What worked before, what you need after the transition. Is that a necessary part of the process? Do we have to do the before first? Do we have to go down that road? Or can we start at a different point?
I mean, listen, I'm creative. I don't like rules. So do you have to? No, not necessarily. But is it the fastest way to accomplishing and achieving your goals? Yes. So why take the slow road? I mean, that's my perspective. I like to be efficient. I like to move at an exciting pace. I like adventure. And I would venture to guess that everybody who's listening to us right now is similar, right? That's what makes us kind of take the road less traveled and become an entrepreneur is we're done with the status quo. We're done with the kind of existing models and systems and solutions. And you as an entrepreneur is seeing that there's an opportunity to innovate, that there's an opportunity to create a better solution. And so the same is true with your process. So the framework that I teach people, it's funny because it's like an anti-framework. I started as a product designer. My foundation is design thinking. And it's about really being able to visualize a very specific outcome and then understanding how to reverse engineer the systems, process, variables to get you there. And, but as a creative, I hate the constriction of somebody else's solution, right? Somebody else's system a lot of times. And so there's a part of me that like rebels against somebody else's systems and processes. But in a sense, that led me to kind of the system of all systems. And that's what I teach people is what you want, meaning your business, your marriage, your family, your health, your faith, that combination is actually quite unique, right? Maybe there's nobody else in the world that wants that specific combination of outcomes. And that's okay. I like that for you. I want that for you. So let's show you a framework that helps you create your own system for getting that very unique and specific outcome. And, that's, I think, the exciting part of what I do is each person is a unique puzzle. There are definitely foundational principles that I recognize very early on, but the specific outcome of what they want is unique. And so you need a unique system to get that unique outcome.
Yeah. So to help folks kind of take that next step, because they're resonating with every word, but they're looking for like, what's that first step what's a practical, like you can implement this today step that they can take to start moving toward that vital operating system?
If Siri is going to navigate you to maybe a new restaurant, she needs 2 locations. And as an entrepreneur, we often miss the second location. We're so focused on that destination that we're not paying attention to the truth of where we are. And I'll give you some examples. You mentioned, telling stories. One of my clients is a world-renowned surgeon. And when he started working with me, he has a team of about 20. And he was frustrated because they're talented people, but they had become entitled, unmotivated, and they just weren't performing at their highest level that he knew they were capable of. And he couldn't seem to figure out how to inspire that within them, right? How to get the best out of them. It felt like he was herding cats every day and, managing gossip. And it was just like the biggest distractions. Are you kidding me? You have people on an operating table and you have to step out of the OR and manage the gossip that's happening with your team. It's just such a huge distraction. And so when he came to me, I had to help him understand the truth of his situation, which is you, doctor, actually playing a role in the dysfunction that you're seeing on your team.
Wow.
And he, of course, couldn't see it. And our ego hates to admit that and doesn't want to acknowledge that. So in order to get to where you want to go, you have to establish the truth of where you're starting. And so he had to be really open, super coachable. And I had to show him the ways in which he's contributing to the gossip, the dysfunction, and even the entitlement that was showing up with his team. And, sometimes it's kind of really unexpected. And, he's doing things out of the generosity of his heart, like giving a across the board bonus at the end of the year that's not performance related. And I was like, are you kidding me? They're sitting back all year because you're teaching them, you're training them that the rich doctors is going to write me a fat check at the end of the year. So I don't have to push myself. I don't have to push beyond my current capacity. I don't have to grow. I don't have to stay a little bit longer to ensure a high standard of care for our clients. Yeah. So, we have to be honest with ourselves. And it's so hard, Scott. It's really uncomfortable. And a lot of time it requires an outside perspective.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so
Yeah.
true. So there's a question I like to ask all my guests. And it is this. What is the biggest secret, Katie, that you wish just wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing you wish everybody watching or listening today knew?
That if you can tap into what you truly want, that is the highest lever that you can pull in your life. I think a lot of times we dismiss what we want, right? As high performers who are disciplined and hardworking, we dismiss our wanting. We dismiss our desires. But if you can access, and I'm going to say this both personally, you as the founder, owner, CEO, and also understanding how to access the wanting of your team. This is what I'm doing with the surgeon, is you need to know what innately your team members are wanting, desiring, and therefore their attention is going to. And if you can understand this, Scott, if you can understand your internal desires, the internal desires of your ideal customers and clients, and even the internal desires of your team members, and if you can understand, this is like the Holy Grail, if you can understand what is that point on the distance that aligns and connects all of those desires intrinsically, intuitively, naturally, effortlessly, if you can understand how to connect all of those desires in this common mission, this common North Star, you don't have to, force people or push people. Their motivation comes from within. And it's kind of the ultimate way to align your team. It's the ultimate way to drive your team members to perform. It's the ultimate way to attract your ideal customers and clients. You mentioned that I built a significant global business, and I didn't realize it at the time. I couldn't necessarily articulate to you that that's what we had done. But as a designer, it was kind of my nature to build a brand and, communicate a parenting lifestyle and solve problems in a way that tapped into my internal desires as a parent. But what that did is it connected me to my customers and clients. And I was solving problems in a really profound way that had people coming up to me saying, I've never met you before. I didn't even know your story, but somebody gifted me your product and I pulled it out of the box and it felt like I could feel your soul. And in those moments, I was like, oh, you felt that. I put it in there. Like the things that I value were very intentionally designed and engineered into the product and the packaging and the messaging. And like it was all put in there. It was placed in there and she could feel it. And when you can understand how to access people's emotions and internal desires, you become untouchable by the competition. So many people are trying to solve problems logically, and yes, you have to do that. But if you really want to separate yourself from the competition, yes, you solve the problem logically, and you also go deeper and you solve the problem emotionally.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's some folks listening, and that's exactly what they want to do, right? They want to go to that deeper level. They want to be a better entrepreneur, to provide a better product, but to also be a better husband or wife or be a parent. How can they find more out about you and the work that you do, and hopefully get started on a process with you?
Yeah. I'm pretty active on Instagram, so katie.live, KATIE.LIVE. I do a lot of live video. I also am a podcaster, and my show is called What's Working Now, and I'm just radically curious about fundamentals and first principles, and so that's what we're uncovering and discovering in What's Working Now. It's about really what is that core principle of truth, and the now piece is, truth is always true, but it's the application that shifts and changes over time. So I have found, whether it's in marketing or team alignment or, attracting your ideal customer, if I can understand the fundamentals and those core principles and make a connection between how that gets applied in today's world, in today's environment, in today's conversation, if I can understand that, then I can make huge progress and really move the needle. So that's what we talk about on that show.
I love it.
And,
Well, check
send
it out.
me a DM. Like, I love hearing from people. People love seeing case studies of clients of mine. I think my favorites are individuals who are kind of in a very tight, constricted, impossible looking situation, right? Where they're maybe working 120 hours a week and they're maxed out with their team and they're, struggling in their business partnership. Like, I love those impossible puzzles. And I've just been able to help people in a really profound way. And it's just super meaningful for me.
Well, check out Katie's Instagram profile. We'll put the link in the show notes below, and What's Working Now, wherever you get your podcasts. We'll also drop a link for that. And Katie, thank you so much for being on this show. Just what a wonderful, wonderful both experience and the wisdom that came out of it. Thank you so much for sharing. And for those of you watching and listening today, your time and attention mean the world to us. I hope you got as much out of this conversation as I know I did, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.